Many women today have been raised to never rely on a man, taught that independence is the ultimate goal. In today's world, women are celebrated for being strong and independent, never relying on anyone but themselves. But where is this mindset coming from? How did we get here? And what's really going on underneath this fierce independence? I'm going to reveal the psychology behind this, exploring one woman's TikTok journey, showing you the trauma hidden beneath the surface. This is Jessie. Let's hear her story.
If you're a woman who ever has been touched in any way without your consent in public, and there were men around that witnessed it, and none of those men did anything, comment with this emoji. And if it's happened more than once, comment how many times it happened. I'll go first. 2 of the instances I experienced were at a bar, and 2 of them were at work. The first one at a bar, I was in line to get a drink. Man walked past me, put his hand like this between my legs from behind, grabbed me from the front, and then all the way up and back. I was in shock and I froze. I looked around. I made eye contact with other men. I watched the person who touched me walk away. I was too afraid to say anything to him or to stand up for myself. Second time at a bar, I was with my boyfriend at the time who was standing next to me, and a man came up and put one arm around me like this and one arm right here, and said loud enough that my boyfriend could hear, "I can give you better D than he can, come home with me." Jump back. Once again, I froze. My boyfriend looked at me, looked at him, did nothing. I walked outside and got an Uber home. And the last 2 times that happened at work were very similar. In both of these instances, men accidentally touched my chest when they were walking past me. In one of these instances, I was a waitress and I was carrying a big tray, and I couldn't drop that tray. And in the other instance, it was a male coworker that touched me, and my boss was right there and saw the whole thing. And the way that my boss and my coworker looked at each other told me everything I needed to know. They both thought it was funny. They both thought it was okay. And I ended up quitting shortly after that when I told a female coworker of mine, and she told me that the same thing had happened with the same exact guy.
This is horrifying. Not just that she's been assaulted 4 times, but that no one stepped in to help. The boyfriend that she was with was clearly too gutless to do anything. Nothing will destroy a woman's feeling of safety faster than physical or sexual abuse. Women are by nature vulnerable, and to truly flourish in their feminine essence, they need safety, both physically and emotionally. This means feeling secure in their environment and in their relationships. A woman needs to feel her partner is reliable, supportive, competent, and able to provide for her needs. She also needs to feel heard, understood, and valued, knowing her partner will stand by her. When a woman feels this kind of safety, she can fully embrace her vulnerability, displaying qualities like openness, softness, and compassion. In this space, she radiates the full power of feminine energy, which the masculine is deeply attracted to, creating a powerful dynamic that allows both to thrive.
I don't know if you saw the title of that video. It was called The Last Straw Moments. Do you want me to list all the other reasons, the cumulative effect that led to that moment? He told me he was $50K in credit card debt, but I stayed. He had ED, but I stayed. For a year, I stayed. Do you think it was any fun for me in the bedroom? No.
In this video, she's talking about some of her previous relationships. You can clearly see the anger and frustration on Jessie's face, evidence of how many times she's tried and been let down in relationships. Her pain is palpable, a result of repeatedly facing disappointment. While Jessie's story is extreme, many women experience similar wounds that erode their sense of emotional security. Betrayal, infidelity, emotional neglect, or witnessing unhealthy relationships can all leave deep scars. Even if these experiences aren't as severe as Jessie's, they still lead to a loss of trust and a reluctance to rely on anyone again. This brings us to what I call the split consciousness. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Many women face an internal conflict between their natural desire to feel safe, relax, and let the man lead, and the fear and mistrust that have developed from past wounds and societal conditioning. This often results in behaviors where a woman invests in a relationship but never goes all in. She might maintain financial independence while accepting help, share emotions but guard her deeper feelings, or allow him to lead in some areas while insisting control in others. As a result, there's a constant push and pull between wanting to trust and fearing vulnerability. This keeps the relationship from reaching its full potential, stuck in a state of half commitment. As Jessie's story unfolds, we see a tragic transformation that occurs when the split consciousness deepens and more painful experiences accumulate. This is where the feminine essence begins to harden, and under stress, a woman may instinctively shift into a more masculine mode, as a survival mechanism. When women don't receive the emotional protection or security they need from men, they often learn to armor themselves against the world. Vulnerability, once a source of strength and connection, becomes something to be hidden away. In its place, they may adopt a masculine role, not because they want to, but because they feel they have no other choice. This shift under stress can manifest as aggression, using forceful behavior to assert control, or coldness, detaching emotionally to avoid further pain. Women might develop control issues, feeling the need to manage every aspect of their lives to maintain a sense of security. Cynicism can take root, leading them to view people, especially men, as untrustworthy. Hyper-independence can become the norm, with a refusal to accept help or support, even when it's needed most, often leading to burnout. Over time, bitterness from past wounds may turn into deep-seated resentment, coloring interactions and making it difficult to experience joy. These qualities, while they might serve as armor, ultimately distance women from their true essence, leading to a life of constant defense rather than flourishing in their natural feminine energy.
If you've never had to be afraid for your personal safety, especially as a woman, I say you are privileged. Genuinely good for you. You might look at a woman like me who has feared for her personal safety multiple times, who's been in multiple abusive relationships, who's felt like at one point in time that I was with a man who could take my own life and the life of my baby. You might look at women like me and say, you're paranoid. Honestly, I believe if you were living my life from birth until now, if you've had all the experiences that I've had, I truly believe that you would think the way that I do. In the same way that I think if I was living your life, I'd probably think the way that you do. I think the way that I do now because my whole life I operated from this place of men don't have bad intentions.
When Jessie says that any woman who went through what she did would end up hating men, it's completely understandable. Given the depth of her trauma, it makes sense that she's reached this point. But here's the tragic irony. As Jessie has taken on a more masculine persona to protect herself, she's become less attractive to the very type of man who could offer her the protection and love that she craves. Her attitude now carries a defensiveness and mistrust that pushes others away. This isn't just Jessie's story, it's also the story of the modern independent woman. Although perhaps not as extreme as Jessie's case, many women today carry a similar burden. Behind the facade of strength lies a deep distrust of men, often born from past relationships or experiences growing up. Each failed relationship adds to the emotional baggage, eroding trust and prompting women to put up walls as a shield to protect themselves from further hurt. They've adopted this strong and independent front as a way to avoid getting hurt again. When you hear a woman say, I would rather be single, or I don't need a man, quite often what she's saying is that I don't want to be disappointed or get hurt again. Yet, by putting on this mask, they also bury the beauty of their vulnerability, the very traits that truly masculine men are drawn to. A truly masculine man is attracted to qualities like openness, softness, and nurturing, which are now hidden away. A really emotionally strong man might, through patience and love, break through those defenses, but what man is going to make that effort unless he already is deeply in love with the woman? The walls built to protect her end up isolating her further from the connection she desperately desires, making it a tragic cycle that's difficult to escape.
I do believe that as a collective, men are bad. A collective is any group of people. 10 people could be a collective. If 8 or 9 out of them are inherently bad, the collective is bad. If 90 out of 100 men are bad to some degree, the collective is bad. The facts are there are more horrible men than there are good men. I think some men who are good men, okay, they don't want to admit to themselves that they are part of a collective of people that are bad.
Jessie's view that most men are bad reflects the deep mistrust she's developed. After everything she's endured, it's understandable, but it also reinforces a negative lens that makes it hard for her to see any man as a potential source of love or protection.
To all the gay men who love women and who support women's rights, thank you and we love you and we would love to have you say, please.
By saying gays are good, Jessie reveals that she sees gay men as safe because they don't represent the same threat she associates with heterosexual men.
Who says I'm trying to have a healthy debate? Women have tried to have logical debates, but it hasn't worked out for us. We're beyond trying to have a reasonable conversation. Who says that men are my audience? I'm speaking to women, every woman everywhere who is feeling the collective rage from millennia of women who have been oppressed by people like this who tell us that we feel bad for you, that you're not seeking therapy, when I'm on here just talking about my very valid and justified experience. I don't care that some man that I don't know is telling me that he feels bad for me.
Her refusal of therapy and choice to only connect with women shows how deeply her defenses are entrenched. With over 100,000 followers and 2 million plus likes on TikTok, Jessie mostly hears opinions that support her negative views about men. And believe me, there are many women among her fans who are venting their own frustrations.
Who's gonna protect you if all the men are gone? If all the men are gone, we won't need protection.
Jessie's belief that she wouldn't need protection if all men were gone shows her deep disillusionment. But men aren't going anywhere. What we need are more men who will stand up and protect women, not harm them.
When I was pregnant, one of my girlfriends said, "Get ready to meet the love of your life." And how accurate of a statement that is. I have felt more love and more fulfillment in the 9 months since my son is born than I have ever with any man, ever, at all, ever.
Jessie's bond with her son, described as the closest love she has, reveals how, as a single mother, she's replacing the love she might have shared with a man with the love for her boy. While it's natural to love her child deeply, this dynamic becomes unhealthy when it replaces adult relationships. Even though she loves her son, her unresolved hatred of men can subconsciously impact him. A boy who senses his mother's disdain for men may either internalize that hatred, becoming afraid to protect women, or rebel against it, potentially becoming abusive himself. This cycle of mistrust and dysfunction is likely to repeat, creating the very kind of man that she despises. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment below.